their best. It's Friday here on The Story, and tonight, pushback against two planned homeless shelters in Northwest Portland continues. What the president of the neighborhood association has to say about a recent meeting with the mayor. Plus, a step forward for the planned James Beard Public Market in downtown and the public money pouring in. But first, swirling reports that the massive transportation funding bill in Salem is dead. Will 600 ODOT employees be laid off in the coming weeks? Where things stand now is our big story tonight. When we left you last night, the massive transportation package had cleared a committee hurdle, headed for the House floor this morning. But as the hours went on today, it became clear that something was up. And then the headlines began. Sources were telling reporters around Salem that the bill was dead. It didn't have the votes to pass. Republicans, as you might imagine, were thrilled.
You know, it was the best thing that could happen. It had to happen for Oregonians. There's no way that that bill should have ever been proposed, and the right thing to happen was for it to disappear.
Then there appeared to be another bill that Democrats were trying to pass to get ODOT some funding in the upcoming biennium, considering ODOT has said that they'll have to lay off more than 600 employees next month if nothing changes this session. And then some Democrats were saying the bill that cleared committee last night was actually still alive. So what is going on? Good question. We did have a live interview scheduled with Representative Susan McLean. She's a major player behind this bill, but she canceled on us about 30 minutes ago. Here's what McLean told our crews earlier today, though, contradicting Republican claims that the big transportation bill was dead.
Still working on it because we still believe there were a few amendments that could possibly make it a better product. And that's what's happening right now. Right now we're going to work till the bell, and we are going to keep working with the governor's office and with the speaker's office and the president's office and all members of this particular session that are working on trying to make sure that whatever we get to the floor is the very best bill possible.
Now, work till the bell, we assume that means work through the weekend until the session is constitutionally required to end at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday night. Now, we had heard both yesterday and today that lawmakers were planning on today being the final day of session. In fact, on the House floor earlier, several lawmakers were thanking their families and referred to the end of the session today. So there's a lot going on in Salem tonight, that is for sure. Just in the last few minutes, Governor Kotek announced to a House committee that House Bill 2025, that big transportation bill, did not have the votes to pass. So what is next? Lawmakers started talking about a different bill, 3402, with Democrats and Republicans each having a version of their own. The Democrats' version would raise the gas tax by 3 cents and include some hikes at the DMV as well, less than what the original transportation bill would have done. And the Republican version only looks to adjust the weight mile tax to compensate for overpayments by truckers. Now, our Catherine Cook is inside the Capitol working to figure it all out, and you can check out the latest on KGW.com or KGW News app, and of course, on the late news tonight at 11. Now, the bill in Salem would require tech companies to pay local journalists to use their news on its platforms. That bill had a big setback. It failed on the Senate floor by a single vote this week. Under Senate Bill 686, tech companies would have to enter into an agreement with journalism outlets to pay for their content. How much would have been up to the news outlet and the tech company to decide together. Several senators said they wanted to reverse the decline of local news.
Journalism is an important way to hold all of us accountable and to connect us together. It is so much more valuable to me to read from a high-quality journalist that has written an article from an objective perspective that has taken on evidence and records than it is for me to just read a press release.
But some were concerned that companies like Google or Meta will simply block local news on their sites.
Does anybody honestly believe these companies are going to just write the check and keep doing business as usual here? No, they will stop sharing news content in Oregon altogether, just like they did in Canada. This bill is not a new revenue strategy, it's a geofence that cuts off Oregonians from the news.
Now, when it came to a vote, it looked like it was going to be a 14-14 tie. But then Senator Case Jama of East Portland, Damascus, and Boring decided to change his yes vote to no. And so the measure failed. But the wins keep coming for the James Beard Public Market plan in downtown Portland. Lawmakers approved $10 million in lottery funds to help cover construction costs. The total build-out is expected to be around $20 million for the site on Southwest 6th and Alder. Market organizers are hoping to open by next summer. The plan is to be open 7 days a week with space for about 40 small businesses. Along with the public funds from the legislature, the project recently had $1 million in donations pour in, $500,000 from Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oregon, and another $500,000 from an anonymous donor. Well, turning to Northwest Portland now, where two controversial homeless shelters are in the planning stages. In response, the Neighborhood Association just created a new committee, a Shelter Accountability Committee.
This is more about what the community has to say because we've been completely cut out of the process.
Well, that is the president of the Northwest District Association, Todd Zarnitz. He says about 120 people have joined the new committee since it formed about a week ago.
I think this neighborhood is a loving, caring neighborhood, and we're perfectly willing to accept a reasonable plan that has a proven track record of success and is sound. But what we're being offered is definitively not that.
The nonprofit Blanchet House has plans to open a 75-bed overnight women's shelter on Northwest 17th Avenue and Lovejoy Street, which is down the street from Rosehaven, a day center for homeless women. And a couple blocks away, the city of Portland recently announced plans to open a low-barrier overnight 200-bed shelter at Northwest Northrop Street and 14th Avenue, all part of the mayor's plan to end unsheltered homelessness by the end of this year.
We met with the mayor about the city shelter earlier this week, and we asked him, why here? Why are you doing this here? And he said, well, I had a building that I could get for the right price, basically. And we said, did the location at all figure out into the calculus? And he said no.
A spokesperson for Mayor Keith Wilson tells us tonight in a statement that Mayor Wilson has personally met with representatives from both the Northwest District Association and the Pearl District Neighborhood Association. We have made a commitment to communicating with and engaging the community about this site, as well as the mayor's plan to end unsheltered homelessness.
We don't know what to expect. The plan looks really thin, and the neighborhood is rightfully concerned and they want to be heard.
Okay, so this is a look at the neighborhood's first Shelter Accountability Committee meeting that happened earlier this week. At that meeting, one city councilor who represents that area, Mitch Green, showed up. He was unavailable to talk with us on camera today. The next Shelter Accountability Committee meeting is scheduled for after the 4th of July holiday, and they plan to invite elected leaders as well as people from other neighborhoods that have dealt with homeless shelters moving in. The city is planning to open its Northwest Portland shelter in September, and Blanchet House hopes to open theirs a month later in October. And we will be watching. Well, Metro Supportive Housing Services, or SHS tax, funds a good portion of regional homeless projects like shelters. And this week, just days after scrapping a plan to put an SHS renewal on the November ballot, Metro Council voted to adjust the income thresholds, indexing them to inflation. Okay, what exactly does that mean? Well, Metro says around 90,000 taxpayers will no longer have to pay the tax. The initial tax, approved by Tri-County voters in 2020, was a 1% on income above $125,000 for individuals and income above $200,000 for couples. It also taxed businesses at 1% on net income for companies with gross receipts above $5 million. The new policy will index the personal income tax thresholds each year to the Consumer Price Index for the Portland area. Metro will publish the new thresholds by November 15th each year. The business tax part of this is not changing. Metro President Lynn Peterson, writing in a statement, indexing the income thresholds to inflation ensures that this tax continues to focus on the high earners it was designed to reach. The new policy is expected to decrease SHS revenue by just over 1% starting next summer. Metro Council also decided to streamline how the tax is paid. Right now, those payments are required quarterly for most who have to pay it 4 times per year. But starting in 2026, those quarterly payments will only apply to people who owe more than $5,000 per year. Metro says that's people who have a taxable income north of $600,000. The new payment policy means that the vast majority, more than 85% of SHS taxpayers, will only have to pay the tax once per year instead of splitting it up. Well, coming up next on the story, new video from the ongoing protest at the ICE office in South Portland. A Portland woman facing a federal charge of attempted assault of a federal officer. Take a look. Appearing to throw a knife at law enforcement before being tased to the ground. That's next when the story returns. Welcome back. Celine Stevens joins us now with a look at the weekend forecast. Celine, what do you got for us?
Blair, it's going to be a really nice weekend, okay? We've been dealing with the June gloom for the last couple of days, but things are going to turn around. You can see now we're starting to see the cloud breaks out there. Temperatures aren't so bad, though. 70 degrees is where we're sitting right now. Those winds coming out of the northwest at 8 miles per hour. And taking a look at our Salem sky cam, same story. We have the clouds, but they've been breaking up a bit. They're sitting at 74 degrees. Those winds coming out of the north at 8 miles per hour. And so taking a look at our satellite over the course of the day, it's just been a cloudy one. We saw some early morning patchy drizzle. It was less than 1/10 of an inch of rainfall, really nothing. But again, a little bit of that early this morning. Since then, we've been nice and dry. We've just been dealing with those cloudy conditions, but that only lasts for about 12 more hours, because as we get into tomorrow, that's when things change. The weather pattern is going to shift. And so looking at the highs today, we got up to 71 here at home, 72 in Vancouver, 72 in Aurora. Temperatures again mild despite the clouds. Looking at 81 down there in Bend, and along the coast we were looking at 60s, low 60s in Newport, upper 60s in Tillamook earlier on today. So looking at our futurecast, by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon, that's when the clouds start to burn off. So right around 12:30, 1 o'clock, we're going to see those clouds finally disperse, and then we're going to have a pretty sunny weekend ahead of us. And that's going to continue. Early Tuesday, we'll see some clouds come early Tuesday morning. But aside from that, it's going to be a pretty much sunny week. It's going to be really nice, but also pretty warm. So here's what we're looking at. Tomorrow, upper 70s for highs, upper 80s on Sunday. And then after that, we could see 90s come Monday. We have a pretty good chance of breaking 90 degrees, hitting around 92 degrees again come Monday. That will be the hottest day of next week. We also have that chance of thunderstorms possible for the Cascades Monday going into Tuesday. It's around a 15 to 30% chance. Still a possibility again of thunderstorms, that said, isolated to the Cascades. And so looking at the Dalles right now, 72 there. They've had a lot more sunshine than us here at home. Those winds 26 miles per hour over there. You'll see that continues through 8 p.m. They're looking at 24-mile-per-hour wind speeds. They've been a little breezy for the past day or so. That continues for one more day into Saturday. We're looking at Saturday 7 o'clock, 25-mile-per-hour wind speeds in the Dalles. Even Portland getting a little windy tomorrow at 7, 20-mile-per-hour winds. Come Sunday afternoon, evening, 25-mile-per-hour winds again in the Portland area by tomorrow. So the gorge tomorrow, again, still holding on to the wind speeds, temperatures in the upper 70s, 80s in the Hood River area. But us here at home, we're looking at upper 70s. 78 tomorrow, mostly sunny. So remember, expect the clouds in the morning. By the afternoon, that burns off. By Sunday, upper 80s. Monday, 92 degrees. And after that, we cool off a bit, but we're still seeing those above average temperatures in the 80s, which sets us up for a really nice 4th of July.
Okay, Celine Stevens loves to see all that sunshine.
Definitely.
Well, turning now to South Portland and the ongoing protests outside of the ICE office there. New video showing someone throwing a knife at federal officers earlier this week and then being tased to the ground. Well, that night, 3 people were taken into custody and appeared in federal court. The protests there, part of a larger nationwide movement against ICE detaining undocumented immigrants. Alma McCarty brings us the details.
What you gonna tase him for?
Video shared with KGW shows Federal Protective Service officers following, then tasing a woman after they say she attempted to light an incendiary device, waved a large knife at them, and threw it at one of the officers. This escalation after federal officers dispensed things like gas canisters to disperse the crowd after 2 people tried to set an American flag on fire in the driveway.
Are you serious? Help them!
Crowds voicing their anger after all this went down right outside the ICE facility in South Portland late Tuesday night. Court documents name the woman as 46-year-old Julie Winters. She's charged with attempted assault of a federal officer, a felony, and made her first appearance on Thursday in federal court. According to federal prosecutors, 2 more people, 20-year-old Azeel Chambers and 28-year-old Rachel Pope, also made first appearances for misdemeanor offenses. Protesters we spoke with say the headlines and arrests aren't telling the full story.
This is literally a bunch of community members coming together and providing support for marginalized people. That's what they're not seeing.
And more often than not, the scene looks like this.
It's mutual aid, which I honestly thought that was Portland values. I thought that was the progressiveness of it. But I'm seeing it being criminalized.
To me, it looked like they were...
Neighbors like Mindan Okan have observed the interactions between federal agents and protesters for weeks.
Like, are we a third world country right now? Like, why are you, attacking civilians like that? And protesters. Like, I understand, there is a couple of protesters who get mad and do what they want to do, but don't take that away from the protesters who are peaceful.
Well, in a statement, Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said in part, Secretary Noem's message to the rioters is clear. You will not stop us or slow us down. ICE and our federal law enforcement partners will continue to enforce the law. We're back right after this. Well, how about we end on something a bit lighter tonight after a week full of divisive politics? It's rodeo season around Oregon, but there's a particular event dedicated to reclaiming the legacy of black cowboys. Catherine Cook and photographer Kurt Austin take us there in this Pacific Storyland.
On this Sunday in June, they wore all of it well.
We're gonna have a good time.
The buckles and the fringe.
We're very excited to experience this.
The boots and the hats.
Here definitely for the rodeo. This is our second year here.
A fusion of Western culture.
I've never been to a rodeo before.
The black rodeo.
That's on the fringe.
Black cowboys.
No more.
And I never seen something like this before.
Yeah.
Neither had Ivan McClellan.
I'd always been a fan of rodeo. I'd always been a fan of Westerns, but when I saw black folks doing it, it really just like welcomed me into that world.
I know, come on.
That was 10 years ago at a black rodeo in Oklahoma.
Tighten up your cinch on there.
For Ivan, it was art in motion.
Come. We're good.
Riding 50 miles an hour around the barrels with acrylic nails clutching the reins and braids blowing behind them.
As an artist, he wanted to capture it with his camera.
And it's just beautiful energy, the shape of someone's hat, the crease in a person's jeans.
We're going left.
Ivan started going to black rodeos across the country, dozens of them, photographing these special moments
Molly.
along the way.
There we go.
Enough to fill a coffee table book and eventually an exhibit at the Portland Art Museum. He also built friendships and respect for the athletes' toil.
It's a tough sport.
And trials.
You're going to struggle no matter what. But I noticed that there were hardly any black athletes competing at the top level.
It drove him to harness that world.
They've got a hoof print on their heart. Charles, look right here. They're going to do it no matter what.
And bring it to Portland.
I'm so glad the rodeo is here.
And I wanted to create a place where black folks can explore the West and be comfortable and get a good payday.
That place is the 8 Seconds Rodeo.
I went to acting school, so little did I know that I was going to be a rodeo boss in my 40s, but Sharice, you ready?
When you watch him at work, it's clear.
I'm in.
Ivan.
I'm in. We're good.
Was born.
Yeah, let's go now.
To be a boss.
What's going on? 3, 2. All right, announcers.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment you've been waiting for.
On this, the 3rd annual 8 Seconds Rodeo, it's a packed house, even backstage.
Incredible, electric. I had never been to the rodeo except for 2 years ago. And now, when this is coming, I can't miss it. I gotta be here for the 8 Second Rodeo.
We got Brooklyn in the house.
8 seconds. That's how long athletes have to stay mounted on rough stock, like bucking horses and bulls, to make a qualified ride. While the crowd enjoys the show,
green wristbands can come in.
Ivan and co-producer Charles Suddeth,
Charles is my right-hand man,
are moving non-stop.
Charles, go to Sportsman. Dante.
Ivan snaps photos whenever he can.
It's controlled chaos.
But it's tough. This year's rodeo is 4 times bigger than their first one.
We never knew it would have been this big when we first started. We were just trying to put it together.
As Charles explains it, black cowboys hold a significant place in Western history.
A quarter of cowboys in the traditional West were black, right?
You won't always read about that in textbooks. But with each ride, these cowboys are reclaiming and honoring that heritage.
Being able to bring something like this to the community has been huge, something that we're hoping could be a legacy and something that's lasting and really helping improve relations in any way, shape, and form.
Malachi!
For Ivan, it's about the most personal, unexpected moments, like the time a cowboy taught rodeo guests how to swing a lasso.
An old black woman, she was in her 80s, came up to me after the first year and said, I always thought of a rope as a weapon, and now I look at it as a tool. And just like that transformation, that connection that she had to the West in that moment was a huge reward for me.
How do you spell his name?
M.
Speaking of rewards,
A.
winning cowboys like Malachi Anderson of Texas
Malachi Anderson, ladies and gentlemen.
earned $6,000 for not getting bucked off.
Malachi came to Portland with $100 in his bank account because he said, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm going to win this money.
Yes, they wore all of it well, including victory.
Thank you, Ivan. I appreciate it. Yeah.
The sweat of their brow,
We going to get my camera out of the office?
the pride in their work,
All of it is just infinitely fascinating for me. Thank you.
the passion for their craft.
As a photographer, you're constantly rewarded.
This is not their first rodeo,
Good job, brother.
and it won't be their last.
That was a gritty ride.
In North Portland,
It's magical.
Catherine Cook,
It's absolutely beautiful.
KGW News.
Such a good story. Well, that's the end of our show, folks. Thanks so much for watching. Timbers 360 is coming your way next. And don't forget, everyone has a story to tell. Have a great weekend. I'll see you right back here Monday night at 6:30.